I never imagined, even in my wildest dreams, my wife of 5 years, Eleanor, would feed a piece of mooncake to her pretty boy right in front of me. Here, try this lotus seed and salted egg yolk filling. I saved it especially for you. Eleanor delicately lifted a small piece and tenderly fed it to the intern, Daniel. Daniel's face flushed slightly, both shy and secretly pleased as he opened his mouth. The entire room fell silent in an instant. Countless eyes turned toward me, some filled with pity, others with mockery. Watching the drama unfold, I had become the biggest joke in the hall. I let out a cold smirk. In the next second, I reached out and wrapped my arm around the slender waist of my assistant, Isabella, beside me. Under her shocked gaze, I leaned down and kissed her right in front of everyone. The entire hall froze. Dead silence. If Eleanor's act of feeding the intern was like dropping a pebble into a still lake, then my kiss was a deep water bomb. Everyone was stunned, reeling from the explosion. Isabella's body stiffened instantly, her eyes wide in disbelief, too shocked to even struggle. Her lips were soft, carrying a faint sweetness of red wine. I didn't deepen the kiss, just a light, sealing brush of lips, a touch and release. But I didn't let go of the arm around her waist. I turned my head to look at Eleanor. The smile on her face had frozen solid, the hand holding the mooncake still suspended in midair. Her expression shifted from surprise to horror, finally, settling into furious disbelief. "Charles, have you lost your mind?" she screamed. Her voice shattered the false harmony of the banquet. The intern named Daniel turned pale with fear, his face ashen, standing there awkwardly like a child caught doing something wrong. I ignored Eleanor's furious outburst and simply looked at her calmly, like it's any different. My voice wasn't loud, but it reached her ears clear as day. Eleanor trembled with rage. Furious, she pointed at me, unable to form a single coherent sentence. The employees around us finally reacted. Whispers began to spread. Complicated glances darted back and forth between me, Eleanor, Isabella, and that intern. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. This has to be the best drama of the year, since the company was founded. I released Isabella. She seemed to snap out of her daze. Her face instantly flushed crimson. She lowered her head and stepped back half a pace to create distance. I could feel her body trembling faintly. "I'm sorry for taking advantage of you," I said softly to her. Isabella shook her head without a word, only pressing her lips tightly together. "Charles, you owe me an explanation today." Eleanor finally found her voice again, storming over to stand in front of me, her eyes blazing with fury. "An explanation?" I sneered. "And what exactly do you want explained? Or perhaps you should explain first. Feeding another man right in front of me. What was that supposed to mean? He's just a kid, a new intern. What's wrong with me looking after him a little?" Eleanor argued self-righteously. "A kid?" I repeated the word. My gaze shifted to the young man named Daniel. He looked barely over 20. Young, yes, but definitely not a clueless child. A fully grown man, who accepted being hand-fed by his married female boss, and showed not the slightest embarrassment at being cared for. Instead, there was a hint of ambiguous intimacy. "Director Eleanor, the way you take care of your subordinates is quite special, isn't it?" The sarcasm in my tone was unmistakable. "You're being ridiculous." Unable to out-argue me, Eleanor changed tactics. "You publicly kissed your assistant. Where does that leave my dignity? Where does that leave our marriage? When you were personally feeding him, did you once think about our dignity?" I countered. "Are the two things even comparable? How are they different?" I pressed harder. "Is it because my kiss was less skilled, or because you're just better at feeding people?" The whispers around us grew louder. Several senior managers hurriedly stepped in to mediate. "President Charles, Director Eleanor, please calm down. It's Mid-Autumn Festival. Harmony brings prosperity. Harmony brings prosperity. Yes, yes. Whatever it is, talk it out at home behind closed doors. Don't let the staff see you like this." I looked at their fake, placating faces, and felt nothing but disgust for this banquet. There was no reason to stay any longer. "Isabella, take me home." I left those words behind, without sparing Eleanor another glance. I turned and walked away. "Charles, stop right there," Eleanor shouted after me. I ignored her completely, heading straight for the hall's main exit. Isabella hesitated for a moment, then hurried after me, helping me open the door. The moment we stepped outside, the noise behind us was cut off, and the world became peaceful again. In the underground parking garage, Isabella silently started the car. The atmosphere inside was suffocatingly heavy. I leaned back in the seat and closed my eyes, replaying the scene over and over in my mind. Eleanor's gentle, watery gaze. The shy yet smug expression on that intern's face. Every detail, stabbed into my heart like needles. 5 years of marriage. I asked myself, had I ever treated Eleanor poorly? From having nothing to building this company, she suffered alongside me, and I let her enjoy the rewards. The position of vice president, all household expenses, money sent to her parents. I never once said no. I thought we were partners who had been through thick and thin, a loving husband and wife. But tonight's scene was like a brutal slap that left me dizzy and reeling. It wasn't just looking after a subordinate. Those eyes, those gestures, overflowing with brazen intimacy. She had even forgotten I was sitting right there at the head table, right beside her. The car glided smoothly toward home. Isabella didn't say a word, only occasionally glancing at me through the rearview mirror, her eyes filled with worry. This assistant who had been with me for 3 years, always capable, always calm and composed, was rattled tonight as well, and rightly so. Any woman, suddenly, forcibly kissed by her boss in that situation, would lose her composure. "I'm sorry," I said again. "Boss, you don't need to apologize." Isabella finally spoke, her voice slightly hoarse. "I know you had your reasons." I opened my eyes and looked out the window, neon lights streaking past in a blur. "No matter the reason, I still took advantage of you." "Isabella, do you need anything from me?" She didn't dwell on the topic, instead asking something more practical. I appreciated her intelligence. She knew I didn't need comfort. I needed a solution. "Investigate that intern, Daniel." My voice was ice cold. "I want everything on him. The more detailed, the better. Family background, social connections, and exactly how he got into the company. Our hiring process has always been strict. An intern who receives that kind of special attention from Director Eleanor, there has to be something behind it." "Yes, sir," Isabella replied decisively. "Before work tomorrow, the report will be on your desk." The car pulled into the villa. I told Isabella to go home, and walked alone into the cold, empty house. Not long after, Eleanor's car roared into the driveway. She stormed out, her high heels clacking angrily against the ground. The moment she entered, she flung her handbag onto the sofa. "Charles, well done. You really know how to humiliate me in public," she roared at me like an enraged lioness. I sat on the sofa, too lazy to even lift my eyes. "Are you tired?" "Tired? I'm furious enough to die because of you. You are explaining this right now. What exactly is going on between you and that Isabella? Have you been cheating on me for a long time? Whatever is between me and her, wasn't it all forced by you?" I finally looked up, staring at her coldly. "You flirted with another man right in front of me, and expected me to smile and welcome it? I told you, he's just a kid. I treat him like a little brother." "Little brother?" I laughed. "Which little brother needs you to feed him by hand? Eleanor, who do you think you're fooling? Why are you so twisted? I just felt sorry for him alone in the big city during the festival. I was being kind. Is that so wrong? Is your reaction not a little over the top?" She was still trying to justify herself, still trying to shift all the blame onto me. I looked at the face that once made my heart race. Now it only seemed strange, ridiculous, and pathetic. With hundreds of employees in the company, plenty are more pitiful than him. Why don't I see you feeding each of them personally? Eleanor was speechless, her face flushing with anger. "Fine, I don't want to argue with you." I stood up, wearily rubbing my temples. "I'm tired. Tonight, I'll sleep in the study." With that, I turned and headed upstairs. "Charles, stop right there." Eleanor refused to let it go and chased after me, grabbing my arm. "You're not sleeping in the study. Explain yourself. Have you been wanting to leave me for a long time? Was tonight just an excuse?" Her nails dug into my flesh. It hurt. I forcefully shook her off. "Eleanor, stop being unreasonable. Who's really trying to do what here you know perfectly well?" I looked her in the eye and said word by word, "Don't treat me like a fool." With that, I gave her no further chance to cling. Walking straight into the study, and locking the door behind me, from outside came Eleanor's furious pounding and cursing. I ignored it all, walking to the window and lighting a cigarette. In the swirling smoke, my heart gradually cooled and hardened. Some cracks, once they appear, can never be mended. Tonight was destined to be sleepless. Early the next morning, I arrived at the office half an hour early. A neat craft paper folder was waiting on my desk, Isabella's style. Efficient, precise, never superfluous. I opened the folder, pulling out the pages inside. The first page was Daniel's basic information. Daniel, 22 years old, fourth-year finance student at Python University, joined the company 3 months ago through campus recruitment, interning in the investment department. A clean record like a blank sheet of paper. I flipped straight to the last page. His family relations. Father, James Jang. Mother, Grace Lee. The moment I saw the name James Jang, my pupils contracted. I had heard that name before, many years ago. In Eleanor's old photo album, I had seen that name. He was her college boyfriend, her first love. In the photo, a young James Jang and Eleanor embracing warmly, smiling radiantly. Eleanor had said he went abroad afterward, and they lost contact, so he hadn't just come back. He had a 2-year-old son, and that son was now in my company, being the little brother Eleanor doted on. I gripped the folder, feeling nothing but bitter irony. All that talk about pity, about treating him like a brother, pure nonsense. The person she was really caring for wasn't the intern Daniel, it was the lingering memory of her youth, the ridiculous longing for her old flame. I slammed the folder onto the desk, my chest heaving violently. A groundless rage surged to the top of my head. No wonder her eyes were so gentle when she looked at him. No wonder those intimate gestures. She was seeing someone else through Daniel. In her eyes, what was I, Charles? A husband who could be humiliated at will once he made it big. A tool to provide a foundation for her and her first love's son? Nausea rose from my stomach. I picked up the intercom and called Isabella. Have Daniel and his department head come to my office immediately. Yes, sir. I hung up, walked to the floor-to-ceiling window, staring at the bustling traffic below, trying to calm my emotions. Anger wouldn't solve anything. What I needed to do now was tear off this hypocritical mask. Soon there was a knock at the door. Come in. The door opened. Investment Department Director Wang led Daniel inside. Both looked nervous. President Charles, you wanted to see us? Director Wang asked cautiously. My gaze swept past him, settling on Daniel. Today he no longer had last night's shy demeanor, only clear tension and unease. Daniel, right? I began. Yes, sir. President Charles, he stammered. How do you like interning here? Settling in, okay? My tone was calm, giving nothing away. It's good, sir. Colleagues and leaders have all been very kind to me. Really? I drew out the word, especially Director Eleanor. Very kind, isn't she? Daniel's face went white as a sheet. Director Wang's expression changed instantly, cold sweat breaking out on his forehead. He was smart enough to realize this was no simple matter. President Charles, is there some misunderstanding? Misunderstanding? I picked up the folder from my desk and walked over to Daniel, patting his shoulder. It's good for a young person to be cared for at work, but some kinds of care aren't so easy to accept. I held the folder out in front of him. Your father's name is James Jang, correct? Daniel glanced at the name on the document. His body jerked, unable to utter a word. Director Wang, standing beside him, was trembling, barely daring to breathe. I'm very curious. I stared into Daniel's eyes, asking slowly, when Director Eleanor brought you into the company, did she ever mention that she and I are married? Daniel's lips trembled. He couldn't get a single word out. The answer was obvious. At that exact moment, the office door was violently pushed open. Eleanor burst in. She had clearly heard the news and rushed straight here, her hair slightly disheveled. Charles, what do you think you're doing? Seeing the scene in the room, she immediately pulled Daniel behind her protectively, like a mother hen guarding her chick. Why take your anger out on a child? If you have a problem, come at me. I looked at her protective stance and laughed. A cold, chilling laugh. Come at you? Fine. I raised the folder in my hand. Director Eleanor, why don't you explain first why the son of James Jang is working at our company? And don't give me that pity or little brother nonsense anymore. Eleanor's face changed the moment she saw the folder. She hadn't expected me to uncover Daniel's background so quickly. A flash of panic crossed her eyes, but it was quickly replaced by stubborn defiance. So what if he is? She lifted her chin defiantly. James Jang was my classmate. His son came to intern at our company. Is it wrong for me to show a little concern as an elder? Classmate. I repeated the word with heavy implication. Eleanor, we've been married 5 years. Which classmate of yours have I never met? Should I pull out your old photo album? So everyone can reminisce together. And see just who this classmate really is. My words struck like a knife, right into her weak spot. Eleanor's face cycled from red to white to green, a spectacular sight. Daniel, behind her, was so scared he could barely stand. Director Wong from Investment wished he could turn invisible on the spot. Only now did he realize what kind of mess he had been dragged into. Charles, don't go too far. Eleanor, mortified and furious. This is the company, not your house. Don't bring personal matters here and make a scene. Personal matters? I stepped closer, cornering her, speaking low enough for only us to hear. You brought your ex's son into the company, flirted with him every day, and fed him in front of everyone. And now, you tell me it's personal? I didn't. Eleanor denied instinctively, but her voice had lost its confidence. Do you dare say, when you look at him, you're not thinking of his father? Every word was a nail, driven hard into her heart. Eleanor's body swayed, her lips bloodless. I had hit the bullseye. All her disguises and excuses crumbled before the truth. Enough, she suddenly shrieked like a cat whose tail had been stepped on. Even if I do think of him. So what? It's all in the past. Do you find it fun clinging to it? Charles, can you act like an adult for once? She actually turned it around and accused me of being immature. I laughed from sheer anger. Whether I'm mature or not is not for you to judge. I dropped the smile, looking at her emotionlessly. Now, let's talk business. My gaze shifted to the trembling Director Wong and Daniel. Director Wong, company regulations. Regarding recruitment and conflict of interest avoidance, for relatives or close relations. You're very familiar with them, I assume? Yes, sir. Director Wong was sweating bullets. Good. Then tell me, Director Eleanor abusing her authority to place someone with special connections to her in the company, and concealing it without reporting. Does that count as a serious violation? Director Wong's face looked worse than if he were crying. He glanced at me, then at Eleanor, not daring to utter a word. Let me answer for you. I spared him the torment. It does. And it's a serious one. I gave Daniel one last glance, and said to him, as of this moment, you are fired. Pack your things. Leave the company immediately. You can't do that. Eleanor screamed, once again shielding Daniel behind her. He's just an intern. He doesn't know anything. Doesn't know anything? I sneered. He doesn't know that his father is the ex you can never forget? He doesn't know you two should have avoided any appearance of impropriety. Eleanor, are you insulting my intelligence? Or everyone's? Charles, my decision. You have no right to object. I cut her off, my tone carrying absolute authority. I am the president of this company. Here, I make the decisions. I turned to Director Wong, emphasizing every word. Director Wong, handle the termination personally. If you can't, then your director's chair can go to someone else. Director Wong shuddered, no longer daring to hesitate. He dragged the stunned Daniel out. Yes, sir, right away. Don't go. Eleanor tried to rush forward to stop them, but I grabbed her wrist tightly. Eleanor, don't make me despise you even more. My grip was strong, crushing her wrist painfully. She struggled, but couldn't break free. Only the two of us remained in the office, the air thick with tension. Charles, do you really have to take it this far? Eleanor's eyes were red, her voice beginning to break. She was pulling out the emotional card. Take it this far? From the day you brought Daniel into the company, it was destined to end badly. For an outsider, you're willing to destroy 5 years of marriage? Outsider? I released her wrist, stepping back, keeping distance. Now, between him and you, I'm the outsider, aren't I? That sentence completely shattered Eleanor's last defense. She stared at me in a daze, her lips moving soundlessly. You think I don't know what you're thinking? I continued. You believe the company was built together, that without you it would collapse, that my assets are tied to you, that I wouldn't dare turn against you. So you fear nothing, so you dare humiliate me like this. With every sentence, Eleanor's face grew paler. Eleanor, you were too confident. I walked back behind my desk and sat down, picking up the intercom to call legal. Send Attorney Liu to my office. Then I looked up, calmly meeting Eleanor's bloodless face. Company business is settled. Now, let's talk divorce. Divorce? Eleanor looked as if she'd heard the funniest joke in the world. First stunned, then letting out a bitter laugh. Charles, you're divorcing me? What gives you the right to divorce me? Her laughter was full of contempt and agitation. Just because I fed an intern a piece of mooncake? Just because he's my ex's son? You're ending our marriage over something so trivial? She marched up to my desk, hands slamming down on it, leaning forward, looking down at me arrogantly. Don't forget where this company came from. Back then, if my father hadn't put in 300,000 as startup capital, you'd still be working for someone else. Without me, there would be no Prosperity Group today. Everything you have, at least half, belongs to me. You want a divorce? Fine. Give me half the company. All the properties in your name. Stocks, cash, half of everything. Dare you? She was certain I wouldn't dare. She thought she had me by the throat. I looked at her flushed, agitated face, feeling only sorrow. So in her heart, all that remained between us was this: money, shares, assets. 5 years of so-called love, worthless in the face of profit. A knock sounded. Attorney Liu from legal entered. President Charles, you called for me? Attorney Liu, have a seat. I gestured to the chair opposite. Attorney Liu sensed the tense atmosphere and Eleanor's terrible expression, immediately realizing something was very wrong. But he asked nothing, simply sat down quietly. Charles, why did you call the lawyer? Trying to scare me? Eleanor folded her arms and laughed coldly. I'm not trying to scare you. I looked at her calmly. I'm serious. I turned to Attorney Liu. Attorney Liu, I want to divorce Miss Eleanor. Starting now, you will handle all asset division between us. Yes, sir. Attorney Liu's expression grew serious. He pushed up his glasses. President Charles, are you certain? This will cause major fluctuations in company shares. The impact on the company will be significant. I'm certain. My voice held no hesitation. Attorney Liu nodded, taking out his notebook and pen, entering work mode. Director Eleanor, since President Charles has proposed it, we can have a preliminary discussion regarding asset division intentions. According to marriage law, post-marital joint assets are, in principle, divided equally. Prosperity Group was established after your marriage, thus falls under joint assets. Equally. Keep dreaming. Eleanor cut Attorney Liu off, pointing at me, eyes burning with hatred. Charles, let me tell you, if you want a divorce, fine. I want 51% of Prosperity Group shares. I want absolute controlling rights. Otherwise I'll drag this out until death. She had lost her mind. For the sake of her ridiculous pride and revenge, she had completely lost all reason. Attorney Liu frowned, clearly shocked by Eleanor's outrageous demand. Director Eleanor, your request, I'm afraid, does not comply with legal regulations. I don't care about the law. This is what I deserve. Eleanor screamed hysterically. I was the one who helped him go from a penniless nobody to President Charles today. Now he wants to kick me to the curb. It's not that easy. I didn't argue with her. Just watched her performance coldly, waiting until she tired herself out screaming. Only then did I speak slowly. Eleanor, have you forgotten? That 300,000 from your father back then was a loan to me, not an investment. Eleanor froze. I wrote him an IOU, in black and white. I continued, 3 years ago. I paid your father back 1 million, principal and interest. You knew that, didn't you? Eleanor's face changed. Of course, she knew. She had even complained at the time that I paid too much, that we were family, and didn't need to be so calculating. As for the company, my fingers lightly tapped the desk. The legal representative of Prosperity Group is me. All registered capital was personally invested by me. You have always been a senior executive, never a shareholder. Impossible. Eleanor screamed. The company charter clearly states, we are co-founders. Co-founder is just a title. It doesn't represent shares. I ruthlessly crushed her final illusion. If you don't believe me, have Attorney Liu pull the company registration documents and show you the shareholder list. From beginning to end, it has only my name. Eleanor was completely stunned. She looked at me as if seeing me for the first time. With eyes full of utter estrangement, she had always believed the company belonged to both of us. That she had equal say. She never imagined that from the very start, I had guarded against her, or more accurately against the family behind her. Charles, you've been scheming against me all along? Her voice trembled, filled with the pain of betrayal. I wasn't scheming against you. I was only protecting what was mine. I corrected her, just like you, always bringing up your father's money from back then, using it as leverage over me, weren't you? Between us, trust was gone long ago. Both of us kept a way out. How tragic. Attorney Liu spoke at the right moment. Director Eleanor, if that's the case, the situation is quite clear. Prosperity Group, Is President Charles's premarital asset transformed? In terms of division, you, I'm afraid, have no claim to ownership. No, impossible. Eleanor stumbled back 2 steps in a daze, collapsing onto the sofa behind her. Her greatest support had crumbled in an instant. As for the houses, cars, and joint savings after marriage, I looked at her ashen face, and continued. Those can be divided equally. According to law, I have 3 properties in my name. You may choose one. Additionally, I'll give you an extra $10 million in cash as compensation. In terms of asset division, I wasn't going to destroy her completely. After all, we had been husband and wife, but Eleanor clearly didn't see it that way. She took it as an insult. 10 million? One house? Charles, are you begging a beggar? She snapped her head up, eyes blazing with hatred. I gave you 5 years of my youth. I was going to bear your children. Oh, wait, I never even got the chance to have your child. Before you decided to throw me away, she suddenly brought up children. In 5 years of marriage, we never had kids. At first, the company was just starting. I was too busy. Later, when things stabilized, I brought it up a few times. She always said career came first. Didn't want to be tied down by family so soon. Now it became another weapon to attack me. Charles, I will never divorce you. She seemed to have made up her mind, a strange smile appearing on her face. I'll never let you and that little slut have your way. As long as I don't sign, you'll never be rid of me. We'll torture qualifying each other, and see who lasts longer. She had descended into shamelessness. I frowned. This was thornier than I had anticipated. Director Eleanor, if both parties cannot reach an agreement, President Charles can file for divorce in court. If the court determines the marriage has irretrievably broken down, they will grant the divorce. Attorney Lou reminded her. Broken down? Who says? Eleanor immediately retorted. Our marriage is perfectly fine. We attended the mid-autumn banquet together just yesterday, didn't we? Right. Darling? She deliberately used a sickeningly sweet voice to call me darling. The words made my stomach churn. This woman had completely lost it. I had no interest in wasting more words. Attorney Lou, from now on, you have full authority to handle this. My only requirement, divorce as quickly as possible. I can make reasonable concessions on assets. Charles. I stood up, grabbing my coat, ready to leave this suffocating office. Where are you going? Eleanor blocked the door. Do I need to report my whereabouts to you, Director Eleanor? I deliberately emphasized her title. You're going to see that vixen, aren't you? She glared at me. So what if I am? I provoked her on purpose. I'll kill you. Eleanor lunged at me like a madwoman, her nails raking toward my face. I dodged sideways, grabbing her wrist and pushing her away. She lost balance and fell hard to the floor. She sat there stunned, looking up at me, then suddenly burst into heart-wrenching sobs. Charles, how could you do this to me? How could you? She wailed and listed my crimes, as if I were the villain. Attorney Lou stood awkwardly to the side, not knowing what to do. I looked at her coldly, feeling not the slightest ripple in my heart. The deepest pain is when you feel nothing at all. That must be it. I stepped around her, opening the office door. Outside, Isabella stood with a worried expression. She had clearly heard the shouting, but without my order, she hadn't dared enter. Seeing me emerge, she let out a small breath of relief. Boss, are you all right? I'm fine. I straightened the collar Eleanor had wrinkled. Send a notice to the company. Effective today. Temporarily suspend all positions of Director Eleanor at the company. Her work will be temporarily taken over by you. This was like pulling the rug out from under her. Since she wanted to test my patience, I would make it so she couldn't stay at the company any longer. Yes, sir, Isabella replied immediately. Eleanor's crying in the room abruptly stopped. She stared at me in disbelief, as if she couldn't imagine I'd be so ruthless. I didn't look at her anymore. I led Isabella straight to the elevator. I knew this battle was just beginning. In the following days, the company fell into a strange calm. Eleanor didn't come to the office anymore. I had the legal department send the suspension notice directly, and the divorce agreement to her home. I heard that after receiving them, she smashed everything smashable in the house. She called me countless times. I didn't answer a single one. She started texting me. The content shifted from initial curses to threats, and finally to pleas. I read them all once, then deleted them without emotion. Isabella's workability was truly outstanding. In just a few short days, she had organized, Eleanor's workload neatly and taken over smoothly, without causing any business disruptions. The staff in the investment department, especially Eleanor's former confidants, were initially a bit anxious and uneasy, but after witnessing Isabella's swift and decisive methods, and her professional skills far surpassing Eleanor's, they quickly submitted wholeheartedly. The entire company seemed to be gradually erasing Eleanor's influence. This made me breathe a sigh of relief. But in my heart, I didn't dare relax at all. I knew Eleanor too well. She was definitely not one to admit defeat easily. Her current silence must mean she was brewing a bigger storm. That afternoon, I was reviewing the quarterly financial report compiled by Isabella, when an unfamiliar number called. I casually picked up. Hello? Is this Charles? This is Aunt Zhang, Eleanor's mother. A shrill female voice came from the other end. My mother-in-law, the woman who had looked down on me from the first day I met Eleanor. Do you need something, Aunt? My voice was very calm. Need something? Of course I do. Let me ask you, why are you demanding a divorce from my Eleanor? What did she do wrong? You heartless bastard. As soon as the call connected, she unleashed a torrent of abuse. Charles, let me tell you, back then, if my Eleanor hadn't been blind enough to fall for you, you'd still be hauling bricks on a construction site. Now that you've got money, and think you're hot stuff, you want to kick my Eleanor to the curb? Let me tell you, no way. It was the same old script again, as if everything I had today was bestowed by the Liu family. Aunt, this is between me and Eleanor. I think it's better if we handle it ourselves. I said patiently. Handle it yourselves? If you could handle it properly, my Eleanor wouldn't be crying at home every day, wouldn't have wasted away to nothing. Her voice suddenly rose sharply. Let me tell you, you owe me an answer today, or I won't let you off easy. What kind of answer do you want? You come home right now and apologize to Eleanor. Tear up that divorce paper for me, then transfer half the company shares to Eleanor's name. You see, my Eleanor might consider forgiving you. I was amused by her brazen audacity. Aunt, are you dreaming? What's with that attitude? Charles, don't refuse a toast, only to drink a forfeit. Do you believe I'll go to your company tomorrow and raise hell? Let everyone see what kind of ungrateful wolf you are. You modern-day Chen Shimei, betraying those who helped you. She started her shrewish rant. This was the usual tactic of that mother-daughter duo. Cry, make a scene, threaten suicide. In the past, for Eleanor's sake, for family harmony, I'd tolerated it time and again, but now, I didn't want to anymore. Do as you please. I coldly spat out 2 words, then hung up abruptly, and blacklisted the number for good measure. I knew trouble was coming. Sure enough, the next morning, the front desk called up, saying a woman claiming to be my mother-in-law was causing a scene in the lobby with a few others, demanding to see me. I rubbed my temples and said to Isabella on the line, have security escort them out. If they won't go, call the police. Sir, won't that blow things up? Isabella sounded a bit worried. That's exactly what I want to blow it up. My voice was icy. Only by making it big can we resolve it once and for all. I want everyone to see the true faces of that mother and daughter. I want to see, when their unreasonable tyranny is exposed to the public, whether Eleanor will still have the face to play the victim abandoned by her heartless husband. In her social circle, Isabella was silent for a few seconds, then understood my intent. Yes, sir. I'll handle it right away. I hung up and walked to the floor-to-ceiling window, looking down below. Soon, I saw several security guards surrounding a middle-aged woman throwing a tantrum on the ground, with a few relatives beside her, pointing and gesturing wildly, attracting a crowd of onlookers. My mother-in-law didn't disappoint. She sat sprawled on the floor, slapping her thighs, wailing dramatically, "There's no justice. The son-in-law gets rich and dumps his wife. My daughter suffered so much for him, endured so much hardship. Now that he's got wings, he finds a mistress and wants to kick my daughter out. Come see this ungrateful bastard, betraying those who helped him." Her performance was even more polished than Eleanor's. The clueless crowd started pointing at our company building, some even pulling out phones to record. Isabella handled it decisively. After security's persuasion failed, she immediately called the police. The cops arrived quickly, after a brief inquiry, prepared to take my mother-in-law's group away, but she refused to go, clinging to a lobby pillar for dear life, her mouth spewing non-stop curses. In the end, the officers had to forcibly carry her out and stuff her into the police car. The chaotic farce came to an end, But the online storm was just beginning. Someone unknown who had uploaded the video online with a sensational caption, "Shocking. Prosperity Group's CEO gets rich and dumps his loyal wife, forces her out for his mistress. Mother-in-law seeks justice at the door, instead gets beaten by security and arrested." The video spread like wildfire. The comments were flooded with curses against me. Men turn bad when they get money. Pity the loyal wife who suffered with him, only to end up like this. That mistress is too arrogant, daring to have the real wife's mother arrested. Boycott Prosperity Group. Let that adulterous couple's company go bankrupt. Public opinion was entirely one-sided. The company's PR phone rang off the hook. Stock prices started dipping slightly. Eleanor's move was vicious enough. She wanted to crush me with public opinion, force me to submit. Isabella knocked and entered, her face grave. "Sir, online sentiment is extremely against us right now. PR is under huge pressure. They're asking if we want to issue a response." "No need," I waved it off. But issuing one now would just be seen as excuses. That creep. Adding fuel to the fire. I looked at the harsh comments. On my computer screen, my eyes unusually calm. Let her stir things up, the bigger, the better. The higher she jumps, the harder she'll fall. "Isabella, so we're doing nothing?" "No," I looked up at Isabella. "Help me with one thing." "Sir, just say it. Get me the recent bank statements for Eleanor and her mother, that is, the account details for Rose Zhang. Additionally, help me contact the best litigation lawyers for defamation. Since she wants to play, I'll play to the end with her. She uses public opinion as a weapon. I'll use the law as mine. I don't just want a divorce. I want her and that mother of hers to pay for what they've done today." Isabella saw the chill in my eyes, understood my resolve, and nodded firmly. "I'll get on it right away." She turned and left, her back resolute and determined. I watched her retreating figure, for the first time feeling something different stir in my heart. This woman seemed to always understand my intentions, always standing firmly by my side. When I was abandoned by all, she was the only one I could trust. My phone buzzed once. It was a text from Eleanor. "Charles, see that? This is what happens when you cross me. I advise you to come beg me soon, or I have even nastier moves waiting for you. I'll ruin your reputation and leave you penniless." Attached behind was a selfie of her and her mother at the police station gate, both wearing victorious smiles. I looked at the photo and slowly smiled. "Penniless? Eleanor, you don't understand me at all. You're overestimating yourself. The real show is just starting." The incident of Rose Zhang causing chaos at the company continued to ferment online. Pushed by those with ulterior motives, all sorts of fabricated rumors piled up. I was turned into a typical modern-day Chen Shimei, and Isabella became the mistress everyone wanted to beat. The company's stock price was affected. Some partners called, hinting at concerns. Eleanor's goal was half achieved. She had successfully created major trouble for me. She thought I'd be scrambling, that I'd bow and beg. But I did nothing. I even ordered PR to forbid anyone from posting responses online, in the company's or my name. I was like an outsider, coldly watching the drama unfold. My silence seemed guilty to outsiders, and to Eleanor, a sign of desperation. She grew even more smug and arrogant. She started accepting exclusive interviews from media outlets, crying and listing my crimes before the cameras. She portrayed me as someone who rose thanks to her father's connection, then turned ungrateful once successful. She painted herself as the perfect, enduring wife who sacrificed everything for the family, only to be cruelly discarded. Her act was seamless, earning waves of sympathy. My mother-in-law Rose Zhang became an internet sensation too. She live-streamed daily on short video platforms, lovered action, recounting her daughter's tragedy, cursing me as heartless. For a time, the mother-daughter duo was everywhere. Isabella placed the latest public opinion reports on my desk every day, her face growing graver. "Sir, things are getting worse. Now, some clients are suggesting pauses in cooperation. If this continues, it'll shake the company's foundation. Don't rush." I flipped through those ugly articles, base, a smile on my face. The fish is about to bite. "Sir, you mean?" Isabella looked puzzled. "Look," I pointed to one article. "In this interview, Eleanor says she gave up her dreams to support my career, willingly becoming the woman behind me. She even claims during the company's early days, she sold her jewelry to fund operations. That's not true." Isabella immediately refuted. In the early days, Director Eleanor did work hard, but she only handled admin and HR, the core business and tech. We're all on your shoulders alone, and selling jewelry. I've never heard of that. I know it's not true. I smiled. But the netizens believe it. I pointed to another document. This is a transcript of Rose Zhang's live stream. Look, she says she gave all her retirement savings to support me back then. And now, her ungrateful son-in-law is kicking her out. But that money from her, didn't you pay it back with interest long ago? Isabella's brows furrowed tighter. She nodded at me. So the more lies they tell, the more loopholes they leave, the higher they build their noble image, the harder the fall. Isabella, I get it. Isabella had a realization. You're waiting for the right moment. A moment to strike a fatal blow. Smart. I gave her an approving look. Go on, tell the lawyers you contacted to be ready, prepared to sue at any time. Additionally, any results on the bank statements I asked you to check? Yes. Isabella immediately pulled several sheets from the file and handed them to me. These are Director Eleanor's bank statements for the last 3 years, and her mother Rose Zhang's. We discovered that every month, Director Eleanor transfers a sum to Rose Zhang's account. The amounts vary from 30,000 to 50,000. Additionally, under Rose Zhang's name, besides the 1 million you repaid her, there are over 2 million in deposits of unknown origin. Unknown origin? I took the statements and examined them closely. Soon, I spotted something interesting. Most of Rose Zhang's over 2 million in mysterious deposits were transferred from an account belonging to Victor Liu N., Eleanor's brother, my brother-in-law, a good-for-nothing loafer, over 30 and still accomplishing nothing, a giant baby relying on family handouts. Every month, through Eleanor, I'd give him living expenses. But clearly, he wasn't satisfied with that. I checked Eleanor's expenses again. Sure enough, among her expenditures, I found many large payments labeled as project advances, or supplier payments. And the recipients were shell companies I'd never heard of. The legal representatives of these shells, after layers of digging, all pointed back to one person, Victor Liu. The truth was laid bare. Eleanor had been abusing her position, colluding with her brother and mother, embezzling company assets for years. The amount was at least over 10 million. I held those statements, my hands shaking with rage. I had thought Eleanor only betrayed me emotionally. I never imagined she'd been scheming from the start, treating me and the company as their family's ATM. 5 years of marriage were just a joke in her eyes. I closed my eyes, took a deep breath, then opened them. My gaze was now bone-chillingly cold. Isabella, sir, take all this evidence to the lawyers. Tell them I want to sue Eleanor and Victor Liu for embezzlement using their positions, and Rose Zhang for illegal possession of assets. I want them to spit out every penny they took, and face legal punishment for their actions. Yes. Isabella's eyes lit up. She clearly felt outraged by these people's shamelessness too. Additionally, I added, gather all the evidence we have, including Eleanor's relationship with Daniel, the falsified accounts she created, the video of Rose Zhang causing chaos, and the lawyer's letter for the upcoming lawsuit. Compile it into a complete dossier. Contact all our media partners. Release it network-wide at 10 a.m. tomorrow. She likes playing opinion wars, right? Then I'll show her what a real opinion war looks like. I want everyone to see the ugly faces of their whole family. I want to turn her from a sympathetic victim into a husband-betraying embezzler, a pre-trial prisoner. I want her ruined. Yes, sir. Isabella nodded firmly, and immediately turned to execute. I was left alone in the office. I picked up my phone and opened Eleanor's smug text. I'll ruin your reputation and leave you penniless. I sneered and replied with 2 words, bring it. Then I called Attorney Liu. Attorney Liu, for the divorce suit, no more concessions. My demand is Eleanor leaves with nothing. Since she's heartless, don't blame me for being merciless. This battle ends now. At exactly 10 a.m. the next morning, a meticulously planned opinion storm swept the internet. Prosperity Group's official account and dozens of major media outlets simultaneously posted a long article titled, Clarification and Statement on Recent False Online Rumors. The article was logical and clear, with solid evidence, like a sharp scalpel, dissecting the layers of lies woven by Eleanor and her mother, exposing the rotten core. The first part struck at the heart. It directly named the trigger for the breakdown of my marriage to Eleanor, her ambiguous actions. With intern Daniel at the Mid-Autumn Company banquet, it also attached surveillance photos from that night's event. Though the images were a bit blurry, the scene of Eleanor hand-feeding Daniel, and their brazen intimacy, was crystal clear. More importantly, Daniel's background was attached afterward. Father, James Jong, Eleanor's college first love. This revelation exploded online. All the netizens who had sympathized with Eleanor, as a victim of a mistress, suddenly felt like fools being led by the nose. Holy crap, plot twist. So the wife cheated first, and with her ex's son. This relationship is too messed up. No wonder President Charles kissed someone else. He was grossed out and retaliated on the spot. I called President Charles a scumbag before sorry. Who could tolerate this? Public opinion reversed in an instant. If that was just the opener, the second part was the real killer blow. The article detailed how Eleanor had, over time, set up shell companies using her position, falsified project contracts, and embezzled company assets. Crimes, totaling 12 million yuan. Each item was backed by clear bank statements and transfer histories. And the money ultimately flowed to her brother, Victor Liu, and her mother, Rose Zhang. The article also attached a police report from Prosperity Group filing a case with Public Security, already under investigation, as well as the civil lawsuit filed in court against Eleanor, Victor Liu, and Rose Zhang. This blew everyone away. If emotional betrayal was a moral issue, embezzlement was outright crime. My God, 12 million. This woman's heart is pitch black, playing victim for sympathy on one hand, secretly siphoning her husband's company assets on the other. Her acting deserves an Oscar. Is the whole family vampires? Treating the son-in-law like an ATM. Support President Charles put the whole family in prison. The third part targeted Rose Zhang's company disruption and her online rumor mongering. The article attached full video of Rose Zhang's tantrum, cursing security, along with bank transfer proofs showing I had long repaid her 300,000 loan, plus 700,000 inches interest. It also included a lawyer's letter from top litigators suing Rose Zhang for defamation, and the media that maliciously spread rumors. These three heavy punches, each one hitting flesh and bone. The netizens who had rallied behind Eleanor and her mother now felt their faces slapped swollen. They angrily turned their spears, flooding Eleanor and Rose Zhang's social media and livestream rooms. Scammers. Give back my sympathy. Spit out the embezzled money and go to jail. I've seen shameless people, but never a whole family this shameless. Curses and criticisms drowned them like a tide. Eleanor's social accounts fell instantly, forced to disable comments. Rose Zhang's livestream barely started before the screen was spammed with scammers, get out, breaking her down. She shut it down in humiliation after minutes. When the wall falls, everyone pushes. The media that hyped them before now distanced themselves, even posting articles condemning their deceit. A opinion feast they stirred up themselves ended up biting them back in the most miserable way. I sat in my office, calmly watching it all. Isabella stood beside me, her face showing satisfaction. Sir, big win. This is just the beginning. I lifted my teacup and took a sip. Announced to the team. Group-wide senior leadership meeting at 3 p.m. today. Yes. Isabella acknowledged, but then hesitated. Sir, there's something I'm not sure if I should mention. Go ahead. Director Wang just let Daniel go. But Daniel says he wants to see you once. He says it's why important. About Director Eleanor. Daniel? I frowned. This young man in the storm was like a pawn being used. My feelings toward him were complicated. Did he say what it is? No, just that it's crucial. He'll only tell you in person. Isabella, bring him up. I pondered for a moment and decided to meet him. Who knows? He might bring some unexpected surprise. Half an hour later, Daniel was brought into my office. Compared to our last meeting, he looked much more haggard and uneasy, with a hint of guilt on his face. President Charles. As soon as he entered, he bowed deeply. I'm sorry, sir. Sorry for what? I looked at him. I shouldn't have, knowing Director Eleanor was your wife. And still, he lowered his head, his voice full of regret. I was possessed. It's too late for that now. My voice remained calm. I know. He looked up, his eyes resolute. I know I was wrong. I'm ready to face the consequences. I came to see you today, to tell you something. Something about Director Eleanor, and a secret involving a key client of our company. A key client? My heart stirred. Yes. Daniel pulled a recording pen from his bag and placed it on my desk. This is from a few days ago. A call between director Eleanor and me. She thought you'd be cornered by public opinion, so she got cocky and let slip. I picked up the pen and pressed play. Inside, Eleanor and Daniel's conversation soon played. Eleanor's voice was full of smug malice. That idiot Charles still thinks I'm just making noise. Let me tell you, this is just the appetizer. The real ace is still up my sleeve. Once public opinion ruins his name completely, I'll contact President Henry of Vast Horizon Group. I've still got a trump card in hand. What's the trump card, Eleanor? That was Daniel's voice. You think Vast Horizon Group became our biggest client? Why? Contributing nearly 100 million in profits yearly. It's because my relationship with President Henry isn't normal. Back then, to land this client, I paid a huge price. Charles still doesn't know his success today is thanks to me convincing President Henry. As long as I spill this and tell old Henry's wife, guess what? To hush it up, will he immediately cancel the contract with Prosperity? Then the stock plummets, and Charles is done for. Ha. The recording stopped there. My office fell into deadly silence. I gripped the recording pen tightly, veins bulging on the back of my hand. An indescribable chill and nausea surged from my soles to the top of my head. President Henry of Vast Horizon Group. I knew him, of course. Our company's biggest client, and the business senior I respected most. Back then, Eleanor did make the connection, allowing us to approach Vast Horizon. I'd always thought our products and proposals won over President Henry. I never imagined it was such a filthy transaction behind it. So, the horns on my head weren't just one, and they'd been there for a long time. The career I was so proud of, the empire I built with sweat, was founded on my wife selling her body. What bitter irony. What utter humiliation. Pff, I couldn't hold it, spewing a mouthful of blood, staining the documents before me red. Sir! Isabella's scream pulled me back from the endless darkness. She rushed over, fumbling for tissues to wipe the blood from my mouth. Her voice choked. Are you okay? I'll call an ambulance right now. No need. I waved her off. The physical wound was nothing compared to the one in my heart. I leaned back in the chair, feeling all strength drained. So the greatest insult wasn't that mooncake at the banquet. It was the success I prided myself on, being rotten at the roots. I thought I'd built everything from nothing, created a business empire. Turns out it was a joke. A pathetic man relying on his wife's body sales for orders. Daniel stood aside, his face pale with fear, hands and feet flailing. President Charles, I didn't mean. President Charles, I didn't mean. I didn't look at him, just stared at the black recording pen on the desk. That pen was like Pandora's box, releasing the most vicious secret, crushing my last shred of pride. Isabella saw my worsening color and grabbed the phone without a word. I caught her hand. I'm fine. I looked at her, saying word by word, I won't die. My voice was hoarse, like sandpaper scraping. Isabella, help me up. Isabella hesitated, then supported me from the chair. I stood straight, though my legs still trembled slightly. I walked to Daniel. He backed away in fear. President Charles, I gave you this recording to atone. I asked him. I just feel you shouldn't be deceived like this. Daniel lowered his head. Director Eleanor. She's terrifying. Yes, she's very terrifying. I murmured, as if to myself. I looked at the young man before me, my heart a mix of emotions. He helped me learn this cruel truth, but he also started this betrayal with Eleanor. Are there backups of this recording? No. No more, just this one. I nodded, pulled a checkbook from my vest pocket, signed a 100,000 yuan check and handed it to him. Take this and leave the city. Never come back, and never contact Eleanor again. Daniel froze, not taking it. President Charles, I don't want money. This isn't a reward. I stuffed the check into his hand. This is hush money. I don't want to hear a word about this anywhere else. Understand? My gaze made him shiver. He shuddered and nodded vigorously. I understand, President Charles. I won't say anything. Get out. I waved him off, like shooing a fly. Daniel fled my office in panic, check in hand. As if granted amnesty, the office door closed, shutting out everything. I couldn't support my body anymore, and collapsed onto the sofa. Isabella poured a glass of warm water and offered it. Sir, have some water. I didn't take it. just stared blankly ahead. Isabella. Do you think I'm a total failure? Isabella was silent. She didn't know how to respond. I thought I had everything: career, family. Turns out it was all fake. I thought I gave her the best life, and she'd be content. But she betrayed me from the start, schemed against me. Everything I built with effort was just a sandcastle, built on filthy deals. I spoke word by word, like accusing, like mocking myself. By the end, I laughed out loud, the laughter growing louder, more desolate, laughing until tears flowed. A man decisive in business, who never admitted defeat, now cried uncontrollably like a child. Isabella didn't console me. She just stood quietly beside me, silently offering tissues. When my emotions steadied a bit, she softly spoke. Sir, this isn't your fault. The career is what you built with your own hands. Even without Vast Horizon Group, with your ability, Prosperity Group would succeed anyway. It's just a matter of time. You're not a failure. The failure is Eleanor. She doesn't deserve your success, nor your feelings. Her words flowed like warm water into my frozen heart. I looked up at her. Her eyes held no pity, only firmness and trust. Thank you, Isabella. You're my boss. She replied simply. Right, she was my assistant. In my most wretched, disheveled moment, she still stood by me. I wiped my tears and stood again. Announce. This afternoon's meeting proceeds as planned. Sir, your health. I'm fine. My voice regained its usual calm and resolve. The sky won't fall. Eleanor thinks this trump card can destroy me. She's wrong. It only makes me stronger. I won't be defeated by this. I'll personally erase this stain from my career. Erase it completely. I want Vast Horizon Group to vanish forever from my client list, even if it means the company will suffer heavy losses, even if it means a significant chunk of my personal wealth will evaporate. I won't regret it. What I need is a clean commercial empire, an empire that truly belongs solely to me, Charles. 3 p.m. The group's senior leadership meeting began right on time. When I stepped into the conference room, everyone stood up at once. Their eyes held both reverence and a hint of scrutiny. They had all seen the online storm. They wanted to know how I, the CEO who had just weathered a colossal crisis, would make my next move. I walked to the head of the table and sat down, my gaze sweeping across every face in the room. I'm sure everyone already knows what happened this morning. I cut straight to the point. The room fell deathly silent. I've made the family shame public entertainment. I gave a self-mocking laugh, then instantly turned serious. But personal matters are personal, and business is business. I called you all here today to announce one major decision. Everyone held their breath. Effective immediately, Prosperity Group will unilaterally terminate all cooperation with Vast Horizon Group. My words exploded in the room like a heavy bomb. Shock spread across every face. President Charles, no, this can't be. The CFO was the first to jump up. Vast Horizon is our biggest client. They account for nearly 30% of our annual profits. The moment we cut ties, our stock price will plummet. Cash flow will face severe problems. Exactly. President Charles, please reconsider. The marketing director was panicking too. We've always had a great relationship with Vast Horizon. Why end it so suddenly? Did President Henry misunderstand something? There is no misunderstanding. I cut them off. This is my decision, but why? There is no why. My tone allowed no doubt. I only want results. Starting tomorrow, I don't want to see the 4 words Vast Horizon Group on any company report again. President Charles. Anyone who disagrees can submit their resignation right now. I swept a cold gaze across the room. Silence fell instantly. Everyone was stunned into submission by my iron resolve. They didn't understand why I would do something so insane, cutting off my own arm. But I knew I had no choice. I could not tolerate my life's work being tainted by any achievement that wasn't truly mine, especially not in such a humiliating way. Meeting adjourned. I left those 2 words behind, stood up, and walked out, leaving a room full of bewildered senior executives, staring blankly at one another. I knew this decision would bring excruciating pain to the company, but short, sharp pain is better than prolonged agony. I wanted to prove to everyone, and to myself, that without anyone, Charles could still make it. Without Vast Horizon, my Prosperity Group would survive, and thrive, even more. The decision to sever ties with Vast Horizon caused massive internal upheaval. The next day, the moment the stock market opened, Prosperity Group's shares nosedived without breaks. In less than half an hour, it hit the lower limit. The market was filled with whales. All sorts of rumors and negative analyses spread like wildfire. Many believed prosperity had offended its biggest backer. And combined with the founder's family scandal, the company was on the verge of bankruptcy. The company phones were ringing off the hook, investors calling to check the situation, suppliers demanding payment, even rivals trying to take advantage, lowballing offers for our core assets. The entire company was shrouded in an atmosphere of impending storm. Senior executives were frantic with worry. Employees were terrified and confused. Only Isabella and I stood like twin anchors, both calmly handling every task in perfect order. Sir, here's the latest stock trend chart. We've hit the lower limit 3 days in a row. Isabella placed a report on my desk, her voice tinged with concern. If this continues, we could face forced delisting risks. I know. I stared at the plummeting red line, my expression unchanged. Any reaction from the board? The major shareholders have banded together, demanding an emergency board meeting. They want you to give a reasonable explanation for this strategic blunder. As expected, I gave a cold laugh. Back when I needed capital most, every one of them stood by and watched. Now that the company is listed, they swoop in to pick the peaches, sitting pretty as board members. Normally, they sing my praises, but the moment there's trouble, they jump up to drag me down. Tell them, the emergency board meeting is scheduled for 9 a.m. the day after tomorrow. Sir, do you have a plan? Isabella couldn't help asking. When the enemy comes, the general blocks. When the water rises, the dam holds. I looked up at her and asked in return, are you scared? I'm not scared. Isabella shook her head, her eyes resolute. I believe in you. Her trust was like a ray of light, piercing the darkness in my heart. Good, I nodded. Help me prepare a valuation report on the company's core technology patents and the business plans for the new projects we're developing. At the board meeting the day after tomorrow, I want to give them a little surprise. Yes, sir. Isabella turned and left. My phone rang. An unknown number. I answered. Charles. On the other end, came a deep, authoritative male voice. It was President Henry of Vast Horizon Group. He finally couldn't sit still. President Henry, what advice do you have? My tone was perfectly calm. Advice? Hardly. There was a trace of displeasure in President Henry's voice, barely concealed. I just want to know what President Charles means by unilaterally tearing up our contracts and ending all cooperation. Did Vast Horizon offend you, somehow? You're overthinking it, President Henry. I replied coolly. This is merely an internal strategic adjustment on our side. It has nothing to do with your company. Strategic adjustment? President Henry gave a cold laugh. Charles, honest men don't speak in riddles. Making such a huge scene, crashing your own stock price, causing chaos everywhere, just for a strategic adjustment? Do you think I believe that? Believe it or not, that's up to you. Charles. President Henry barked. I've always thought highly of you, treated you like a friend across generations. When your company hit trouble, I never kicked you while you were down, and now you stab me in the back? Is that honorable? Honor? I repeated the word, finding it bitterly ironic. President Henry, between us, is the word honor really appropriate? Silence fell on the other end. He clearly understood the why implication, knew that I knew something, and probed. If you don't want others to know, don't do it in the first place. I answered coldly. Another long silence. I could picture how ugly President Henry's face must be right now. He thought that affair would stay buried forever. Charles, that was something Eleanor did willingly. It had nothing to do with me. After a long pause, he finally spoke, trying to distance himself. Is that so? I sneered. A startup founder desperate for orders, and a tycoon holding 100 to million contracts. President Henry, you're telling me it was voluntary? I have no interest in digging up the past. My voice was ice. I called only to inform you of one thing. What? The filthy business between you and my wife. I have it all recorded. If you want your wife, your competitors, the whole world to hear it, I don't mind making it public. You dare threaten me? President Henry's voice instantly turned furious. This isn't a threat, it's a notification. I said word by word. From now on, you walk your path, I'll cross my bridge. We owe each other nothing, and we'd best never meet again. Otherwise, I can't guarantee that recording won't accidentally leak. I hung up without giving him another word. I knew President Henry wouldn't gamble with his status and reputation. Once the scandal broke, he'd lose far more than one partnership. This matter was closed. I let out a long, relieved breath, feeling the massive stone on my heart finally lifted. The price was steep, but worth it. 2 days later, the emergency board meeting of Prosperity Group. The atmosphere in the conference room was heavy. The leading shareholders, headed by Director Wang, the second largest shareholder, all wore dark expressions. I walked in. Every eye turned to me. President Charles, you finally showed up. Director Wang opened with sarcasm. Don't you owe us an explanation? Why, at the company's most difficult moment, did you decide to terminate cooperation with Vast Horizon, destroying our future with your own hands? Exactly, President Charles. Your decision was reckless. The stock price is crashing. Market value has evaporated by tens of billions. You must take responsibility for this mistake. Another shareholder chimed in. Take responsibility. How do you want me to take responsibility? I pulled out a chair and sat, glancing around the room. We demand you immediately resign as CEO. Resign to atone for this massive loss. Director Wang slammed the table, revealing his true colors. Resign? I smiled. Director Wang, have you forgotten that I am the largest shareholder in this company? Whoever I want as CEO will be CEO. You're the largest shareholder, true, but you can't act like a dictator, driving the company into an abyss. Director Wang spoke with righteous indignation. We shareholders have already discussed it. If you refuse to resign, we will band together and report you to the Securities Commission for harming company and shareholder interests. They were trying to force me out. They thought they had me by the throat, that they could oust me and carve up my empire. How naive. Finished. I waited until they were done venting, then spoke slowly. I signaled Isabella to distribute the prepared documents to every shareholder present. Before forcing me to resign, why don't you take a look at these first? The shareholders flipped through the files, half believing, half doubting. The first page was the patent certificate for the company's latest AI chip, Celestial Script. The second page was the autonomous driving system, built on the Celestial Script chip, with preliminary cooperation agreements already reached with 3 top domestic automakers. The third page was the new energy battery project the company had secretly developed for 3 years. Its energy density surpassed every comparable product on the market. Once mass-produced, it would upend the entire industry. Page after page, project after project, each one capable of shaking the capital markets. Each patent worth a fortune. In the conference room, all that remained was the increasingly heavy breathing of the shareholders and the rustle of turning pages. Their expressions shifted from initial disdain to shock, then to wild joy and greed. Finally, they understood why I dared abandon Vast Horizon, because I held even bigger trump cards. Gentlemen, I broke the silence. That little profit from Vast Horizon, compared to these projects, which side weighs more? I'm sure you can judge for yourselves. I let go of Vast Horizon, so the company could shed its burdens, travel light, and embrace a far greater future. Now, do you still think I should resign? I leaned back in my chair, watching them leisurely. Director Wang's face alternated between green and white, utterly humiliated. He never dreamed I had so many hidden moves. His fantasy of seizing power shattered instantly. PR President Charles, we only wanted what was best for the company. Afraid that you... He stammered, trying to explain. Best for the company? I cut him off. Director Wang, shall I reveal to everyone how you've been secretly contacting headhunters to poach our core technical team? Director Wang's face went ashen. And you, Director Li, mortgaging your company shares for illegal loans. Should I have legal discuss that with you in detail? And Director Zhang, with every name I called, another face turned paler. I knew all their dirty little secrets by heart. I had simply bided my time, waiting for the perfect moment to catch them all. Now the moment had come. You are all company veterans. I originally wanted to spare you some dignity. My voice grew colder, but since you've thrown away your own face, don't blame me for being ruthless. Isabella, notify legal and the audit committee to thoroughly investigate these directors. Any act harming company interests will be taken to court. No mercy. Yes, sir. The shareholders slumped in their chairs, faces gray as ash. They knew they were finished. As for the shares you hold, I looked at them like they were already dead. I'll buy them all back, at a 20% premium over today's closing price. Will you step down with grace? Or shall I help you? This was the ultimatum. Director Wang and the others exchanged glances, seeing only despair in each other's eyes. They had no bargaining power left. "I'll sell." Director Wang was the first to speak, his voice hoarse. Once one broke, the rest followed. Soon, every shareholder who had tried to force me out signed the share transfer agreements. A meticulously planned coup ended in my complete victory. From this day forward, Prosperity Group would truly become my kingdom alone. No one could obstruct my decisions anymore. After purging the parasites on the board, I gained full control of Prosperity Group. Next came the counterattack. I instructed Isabella to selectively release information about our ACE projects to the market. The moment the news dropped, the capital markets erupted. No one expected that Prosperity Group, once thought on the brink of collapse, had been hiding such terrifying strength. AI chips, autonomous driving, new energy batteries, every field was the hottest trend for the next decade. After days of hitting the lower limit, Prosperity Group's stock began a vengeful rebound. More than a dozen consecutive upper limit sessions. The share price soared, not only recovering all lost ground, but hitting all-time highs. The company's market value doubled. The analysts who had predicted our doom now unanimously praised Prosperity Group as the most valuable tech investment. Rivals who had circled like vultures could only watch and sigh. Retail investors who panic sold beat their chests in regret. I had turned the tables with a beautiful comeback, proving my strength to the world. Prosperity Group could thrive without anyone, and thrive even better. At the same time, the curtain fell on the Liu family. The charge of embezzlement using official positions was confirmed. Eleanor and her brother, Victor Liu, were arrested. A long prison sentence awaited them, due to the enormous sum involved. All assets under Eleanor's name, including the house and the 10 million in cash I once gave her, were frozen by the court. To compensate the company, she schemed and plotted her whole life, only to end up with nothing. A convict, how ironic. As for my former mother-in-law, Rose Zhang, she was sentenced to prison for illegal possession of property, though the sentence was suspended. Additionally, she was ordered to publicly apologize to me and Isabella for spreading malicious rumors and defamation, and pay compensation for emotional damage. When the verdict was announced, I heard she suffered a stroke at home, left half paralyzed, face twisted, unable to speak clearly. I wonder, on those quiet nights in her hospital bed, whether she ever regretted what she did. As for President Henry of Vast Horizon, the very next day after our call, he voluntarily ended all disputes with Prosperity, and paid a substantial contract breach penalty. He was scared. He didn't dare bet on whether I'd release the recording. The storm that began with a single mooncake finally came to an end. Everyone who betrayed me, who hurt me, had paid the price they deserved. I won. Decisively, beautifully. 1 month later, my divorce judgment was finalized. Eleanor and I were strangers from that day forward. The moment I stepped out of the courthouse, sunshine poured down. I looked up at the clear blue sky, feeling lighter than ever. Isabella was waiting in the car outside the gate. "Sir, all done?" "Yes." I slid into the passenger seat. "From today on, don't call me sir anymore." Isabella froze, her hands tightening on the wheel. "Then what should I call you?" I turned to look at her. Sunlight streamed through the window, gilding her delicate profile in soft gold. Through this whole ordeal, she had stood with me in my darkest hours, fought back with me, stood at the summit with me. Our relationship had long transcended boss and assistant. Call me Charles. Our relationship passed that line a long time ago. Call me Charles. Isabella's cheeks flushed pink, like ripe apples. She said nothing, only nodded slightly. The car started, merging smoothly into traffic. "Where to?" she asked. "Back to the office." "Not today." I shook my head. "Today we're celebrating. Celebrating my rebirth. And celebrating that I have you by my side." I didn't say the second half out loud, but we both understood. "Okay." Isabella smiled, her smile as bright and warm as the sun. I took her to a newly opened French restaurant. We chose a table by the window, overlooking the city lights at night. "Charles." Isabella raised her glass. "Congratulations." "No, I should be thanking you." I clinked my glass gently against hers. "Isabella, thank you for always standing by me." "You." Her gaze flickered away, as if she wanted to say something, but stopped. "What is it?" "Nothing." She shook her head, took a sip of wine, as if steeling herself. A moment later, she seemed to make up her mind, looked up at me earnestly. "Charles, There's something I've kept from you all this time. What? Seeing her serious expression, my heart tightened. Do you remember why I dared to cut ties with Vast Horizon? Because I had the celestial script chip, the new energy battery, those ultimate trump card. Yes. Have you ever wondered why those world-leading projects, representing the future itself, ended up at Prosperity Group? I was stunned. I had always assumed they were developed in-house by our technical team under my leadership, though I'd been amazed by the team's creativity. I never questioned their origin. Are you saying we didn't develop them ourselves? Yes. And no. Isabella's eyes grew complicated. The core technology of those projects, the frameworks and theoretical foundations, actually all came from one person. Who? My father. My mind went blank for a second. Your father? Yes. Isabella nodded, and began telling me a story I had never known. My father was a scientist, devoted his entire life to artificial intelligence and new energy research. Those projects were his life's work. 3 years ago, he passed away from overwork. Before he died, he entrusted all his research materials to me, but I was just a fresh graduate, with only theoretical knowledge, completely unable to turn those grand ideas into reality. I needed a platform, a leader with ability, with vision and integrity I could trust. So, I came to Prosperity Group, came to your side. I took the role of an ordinary assistant, silently observed you, tested you, and gradually integrated my father's achievements into the company's R&D projects. I listened in stunned silence, unable to utter a word. I had always thought Isabella was simply an exceptionally capable assistant. I never imagined she carried such an enormous secret. When she came to me, so I was the one chosen, the one tested. Why tell me only now? I finally managed to ask. Because you passed the test. Isabella looked at me, her eyes shining. At the company's darkest hour, you didn't compromise. You cut off your own arm, severed that filthy partnership yourself. You proved you are a businessman with principles, with backbone. You are worthy of my father's legacy, and capable of leading it to an even brighter future. So that kiss at the mid-autumn banquet, I suddenly realized, was unexpected but also genuine feeling. Isabella blushed. I'd already fallen for you, long before that. I looked at her, 1,000 emotions swirling inside, shock, gratitude, and a trace of fear at what might have been. If I had compromised with President Henry back then, if I had swallowed the humiliation, I wouldn't have just lost Isabella, I would have lost Prosperity Group's entire future. Isabella, I reached out and took her hand. Her hand was cool, slightly trembling. I had so much to say, but in the end it became one sentence. From now on, let me protect you and your father's dream. Tears welled in Isabella's eyes. She nodded hard. Outside the window, city lights glittered, stars sparkled above. I knew our story was only just beginning. 1 year later, Mid-Autumn Festival, the rooftop garden of Prosperity Group headquarters, had been transformed into an intimate celebration. Gone was last year's lavish, hypocritical banquet, full of scheming. This year I invited only a few dozen senior executives, and our most critical technical staff, along with their families. Everyone gathered around barbecues, drinking beer, chatting. The atmosphere relaxed and joyful. In the past year, Prosperity Group had written a legend in business history. The celestial script chip entered mass production, breaking foreign technological blockades, becoming the most sought-after product by global tech giants. Cars equipped with our autonomous driving systems now roamed streets across the country, and our new energy batteries, with unmatched performance and safety, had completely overturned the industry. The company's market value surpassed $1 trillion. Charles had gone from an ordinary private entrepreneur to a globally watched tech titan in one leap, and behind all of this stood one person's unwavering support. I turned and looked at Isabella, laughing happily with several female colleagues nearby. Tonight she wore a pale yellow dress, long hair cascading over her shoulders, light, refined makeup, so beautiful under the lights that I couldn't look away. She was no longer my assistant. After the board restructuring, ignoring all gossip, I appointed her Chief Technology Officer of Prosperity Group, fully in charge of all R&D projects. At first, some resisted, but when Isabella used her profound knowledge and extraordinary vision to lead the team past one technical hurdle after another, everyone was convinced. She earned respect with pure strength. Now, she was Prosperity's recognized tech goddess, the idol of countless young engineers. As if sensing my gaze, Isabella turned and gave me a sweet smile. I smiled back. What are you staring at? She walked over, handing me a beer. Can't I look at my wife? I took the bottle, and naturally slipped an arm around her waist. We had registered our marriage 6 months ago. The wedding was simple, only closest family and friends. Isabella's cheeks pink. She gave me a playful glare. So many people around. Afraid of what? I leaned close to her ear, and whispered, they're all used to it by now. Indeed, the whole company knew. Their president, Charles, was a certified wife-obsessed fool. Isabella gently leaned against my shoulder, gazing at the dazzling city nightscape. Charles, gazing. Do you remember this day last year? She asked softly. How could I forget? I took a sip of beer, my eyes growing distant. This day last year, my life hit rock bottom. Betrayal, humiliation, abandonment by the world. I thought my world was ending, but it was also from that day that my life truly began. If it weren't for that mooncake, maybe we'd still just be boss and assistant, Isabella. So sometimes I even think, should I thank Eleanor? Don't. I cut her off instantly, face twisting in disgust. Even saying her name brings bad luck. Isabella laughed at my expression. Fine, no more mentioning her. As for Eleanor's fate, I heard from Attorney Lou. She behaved poorly in prison. Repeated violations had her sentence extended. Her brother Victor couldn't endure prison life and lost his mind. Their mother Rose remained bedridden after the stroke, unable to care for herself. Relatives took turns for a few months, then lost patience and dumped her in the worst nursing home. The whole family met a miserable end. I felt nothing about it. Those who deserve pity always have something hateful about them. Their fate today was entirely self-inflicted. By the way, Isabella suddenly sat up straight, a mysterious look on her face. There's something I want to tell you. What? Close your eyes first. Though puzzled, I obediently closed them. I felt soft hands cover mine. Then something small and cool was placed in my palm. You can open them now. I opened my eyes and looked down. In my hand lay a tiny pregnancy test stick, showing 2 clear red lines. My mind blanked for several seconds. I whipped my head up, staring at Isabella in disbelief. This, my voice actually shook. Isabella smiled and nodded, tears glistening in her eyes. Charles, you're going to be a father. Boom, a tidal wave of joy swallowed me whole in an instant. I pulled Isabella tightly into my arms, too overwhelmed to speak. I'm going to be a dad. Isabella and I are having our baby. This is amazing. This is amazing. I babbled incoherently, repeating the same words over and over. Colleagues nearby noticed the commotion and quickly gathered around. When they saw the test, the scene exploded with cheers and thunderous applause. Congratulations, President Charles. Congratulations, boss. Boss is mighty. Madam is mighty. Next year, Prosperity Group will have a little prince or princess. I held Isabella close, grinning like an idiot amid everyone's blessings. I felt that at this moment, my life was truly complete. A career I loved, a wife I adored, and a child on the way. What more could a man ask for? I lowered my head and pressed a deep kiss to Isabella's forehead. Thank you, for never abandoning me in my darkest hour, for bringing light into my life, for bringing hope, for giving me a complete family. Isabella said nothing, only buried her face in my chest, smiling with pure happiness. In the distance, a bright full moon hung high in the night sky. Last year's moon witnessed betrayal and endings. This year's moon witnesses rebirth and fulfillment.